Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Stop them. An idea whose time has come cannot be stopped by any army.
Welcome to Eradicating Programmed Ignorance. I'm your host, Roger Landry, the founder of the Liberty Beacon Project. And as everybody knows, we do these shows because there are so many people out there who feel they know the truth. And they have literally been programmed, and that program causes ignorance, not stupidity. There's a lot of people out there who are very intelligent, but when you constantly get fed lies or programming, this is what reinforces what we see, those of us who have done our homework, as ignorance. Today, I have as a guest, I can't even really call her a guest. Today on this show, we are going to present somebody who hasn't been on the show for a while, but she has been a partner of the Liberty Beacon Project for quite some time. As a matter of fact, she's a director of one of our websites called Middle East Rising. And most of you have probably already guessed at this point that I'm talking about Ariyana Love. Today, we're going to talk about a special project that she's working on, something that's near and dear to my heart, okay? We're not so much going to talk about aggression. We're not so much going to talk about the right and the wrong as we need to talk about the humanitarian aspect. And when you look at the humanitarian aspect, this is something that's ignored by far too many people, except people like Ariyana, who has worked diligently, has been there several times herself to do everything she can to help these people in Gaza, especially. And so let's talk about a project to bring medical supplies, to bring medical help into an area that is constantly under a state of oppression. Okay, I could sit here and talk about this myself forever. How are you, Ariyana? And it is so good to have you back on this show.
Well, thank you, Roger. That was a lovely introduction. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I want to start off with, we have tonight on this show two aspects we want to cover. One is, and I'm just going to give some teasers here, Activism Works, okay? And the other one is emergency medical supplies for SMT, Gaza. So let's start off with, hey, Activism Works, and then we will work our way over to SMT.
Okay, great. Yeah, activism does work. Basically, I mean, just to give an overview of what goes on in Palestine. In the West Bank, we have the abductions, torture, and confinement on a daily basis, and the land grabbing by illegal settlements. And then in Gaza, we have siege and all the complications of that, being cut off to the outside world and not having medical supplies, basic medical supplies, food. Trump cut off almost $400 million in aid to UNRWA, and UNRWA services half the Palestinian population. 75% of the Palestinian population are refugees. So by cutting off that aid, literally people are starving. The Palestinians, they're very efficient. They know how to, reduce the amount of food that they eat. They can eat one meal a day, and they'll still be grateful for what they have, and they'll be able to survive like that. And many, many people do that in Gaza. They're below the extreme poverty line in Gaza. So anyway, that's just the context. And there are things that we can do. I think that, the media propaganda that's fed to us, they want us to think that this is some conflict that's been going on forever and there's nothing we can really do. We have nothing to do with it. But there is things that we can do. And, number one, we can call for sanctions against Israel. Number two, we can make a difference with our voices and doing campaigns, activism, Twitter storms, things like that, as we've just done and proven. And then the third thing is public opinion, because basically these are war criminals committing heinous acts of crimes against humanity, and weapons testing almost biannually in Gaza. And they can only do this and get away with this if we allow them to. They rely on public opinion to be able to get away with what they do. When we are loud enough, they back off and they'll bide their time.
Well,
so yeah,
I not only agree with you, but these are things that we have seen happen over and over throughout history. People say, what good does it do to protest? Well, if you take a look in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, in this country, the Vietnam War, there was continuous pressure on a government to back out of a war that we should never have been in. Okay? And did it have an impact? Yes, it did. There are two things on this planet that have a huge political impact. One of them is money. That is huge. But the other one is 7.5 billion people. The 99%, the non-elites. So you're right. When we focus a voice, when we focus a message, it does mean something. And we are every bit as powerful as those with the money, but we need to coordinate a whole lot better than they do.
Yes. And a good example of that, of the succeeding in coordination, is BDS. I forgot to mention them, but we can boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. That's also very powerful. But we did a couple of very successful Twitter storms recently, in the last month, and we had positive results. One of them was led by us, by Occupy Palestine TV and Anonymous. And we rose to a call by an activist in the West Bank, in the occupied West Bank, called Jonas Arar. He's on Facebook. He and other activists, mostly Palestinian, but some Israelis, joined, and they were holding a vigil at al-Ahmar village in the West Bank. It's in the outskirts of occupied Jerusalem. And this village, it's a Bedouin village, a Bedouin community, and Israel ordered the demolition of this village and the forcible transfer of this village, even though both of these are war crimes. And there's also a school that services the larger community there that has almost 200 kids, that was established by European countries. So that particular location, if Israel would have succeeded in carrying out the demolition, they would have been able to control the entire West Bank and divide it in half, and this would be detrimental to the people. Yeah. Not
only that, but you guys did some pushback. And how many other organizations were you aware of, even on the periphery, that were also putting the push on? And yeah, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here. What do you think the cumulative numbers may have been? Because we're talking about the most stubborn and obstinate government on the planet. We're talking about the Israeli government. They don't back down easily, and they don't really give a damn about what the rest of the freaking world says about them. So to get them to back away, not only the pressure from you, but how many other people do you talk to, Ariyana, who may have taken that football and ran with it?
Only Anonymous.
Yeah, okay. Only. I got it.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Look, this is not going to be a long show. We want people to read the article that is going to accompany this show. It will give you the details. It is written by Ariyana. It is about, yes, activism does, you can win. What I would like to talk about now and spend a goodly amount of time on is the funding and why. Because to me, that is a huge issue. It really is.
Okay. Well, I took up on a campaign. I've been collaborating with Smile Medical Team in Gaza for a while. I've been watching their incredible work on the battlefield, at the front lines, at the Great Return March demonstrations. Now, these demonstrations, they were led by civil organizations, not the Gaza authorities or Hamas. They were led by civil organizations led by the people. And you've had thousands of people protesting at the, apartheid wall, the illegal separation barrier that keeps Gazans caged in. They've been protesting for freedom and for a right to return to their homes, which is international law. They have been, of course, if everyone's seen them getting executed, children too, being shot with kill shots to the head. You got Israeli snipers, military snipers lined up at that fence and keeping, culling the herd, if you will. I don't know any other way to say it.
That's not even a secret. That's not even a secret. So
no,
anybody who doesn't take for a fact what Ariyana is stating right now, there's your programmed ignorance. Do a little bit of reading, do a little bit of research, and don't do it with the mainstream media, please.
Yeah, really. So basically, the Smile Medical Team has been there on the front lines, administering first aid and saving lives of thousands of people. There were 20,000 people wounded so far, over 200 people killed, and the wounds some of them are very severe. They've been using internationally banned bullets, known as the butterfly, things that break right through bone. And there's been many amputations, so it's very bloody there, and they're sometimes so overwhelmed with casualties that it's and they're
well, what they have used white phosphorus on Gaza, if I recollect properly, and that can cause some serious damage to the skin and to the respiratory system and other things like this. I mean, yeah.
They've used white phosphorus numerous times
yes.
in Gaza, but not at the Great Return March, but they used new internationally banned weapons. They use chemical weapons. There's evidence of this. I've brought it to the Unit for Arms Control here in Finland, hoping they would do something. But
so what is this SMT? Because I know right now in this conversation, very few people are going to understand what that is.
Okay, Smile Medical Team was established a few years ago. They first started. It's a group of volunteer medics and nurses. They are administered. First of all, they started by how do you say? Working with cancer patients, children. That there's over 300 children in Gaza that have cancer, and there's no cancer treatment whatsoever in Gaza. So it's a pitiful situation, and
yes.
They wanted to bring smiles to the children. They thought that laughter was healing and could be a cure, and they're actually getting positive results with it.
Yes.
So they're entertaining the kids and making them happy and smile, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. But when the Great Return Marches started, they needed medics out on the field, so they started going out, and every time there was a protest, every day they're there saving lives, and they have done this with very, very little supplies. People may have heard about the nurse who was executed. She was shot by a sniper with a bullet to her chest while she was trying to reach someone who was wounded. They just executed her. Her name was Razan Najjar. She was a member of Smile Medical Team, and she had been administering first aid for 5 months. She was quite well known. She had just gotten engaged, and they took her out. Her parents are part of Smile Medical Team, and they gave me permission to run a campaign for them to raise $3,000, and this is for medical supplies.
3,000 euro, or is it $3,000?
Oh, sorry, 3,000. Yeah, 3,000 euro.
Yeah.
And it's all for medical supplies, things that they need desperately, like bandages, like gauze. I mean, things that are the most basic, and they are really struggling just to buy those things, and they buy them out of their own pocket. The warehouses have been empty. The hospitals have been closed down because of the high number of casualties from the Great Return March. Gaza has been in this medical crisis. We think that the siege is going to be eased soon, and medical supplies may start coming in. But it's been catastrophic, and I wanted to do what I could to help them and to support the medical sector. Yeah,
I would tell you that this, and you and I both know, and the audience is going to, I don't know, get a little hint here. We've been trying to do this show for the last 6 hours, and one thing, excuse me, one thing after another has kept it from happening. But I told you, I said, I'm going to get this done. I want to get this done, and here we are. Excuse me, and we're getting it done. All right, look, I want you to explain to people how much longer this is going to progress for as far as the fundraiser, where they can go, and this information, of course, will be in the article that this show is contained in. But let people know where they can go to donate, the last day they can donate, and the fact that any time after that, we will have a fallback PayPal account that you can send your donations to continuously.
Yeah, well, we're going to close the campaign. I was just advised by somebody who does campaigns to keep it crisp. I don't know how to explain. Like, if somebody really wants to donate to Smile Medical Team, we have a campaign on Facebook, and everything we raise is going directly to them. Yeah. But if people want to donate, they can get in touch with me. I can direct them to Smile Medical Team. They do have a PayPal. They do have a way of receiving funds. So, if somebody wants to come, they can ask me. If they want to donate to us, to Occupy Palestine TV, that's much appreciated, because we do have expenses as well. Just small things, but we do have them.
Well, it's Occupy Palestine TV and Middle East Rising. So, yes, you have a nice little, you have the ability to get a decent-sized message out. So this is great. And, yes, I will make sure that when this is published, any appropriate links that you feel, whether it's connecting to you to connect to them or connecting to you to help support your organization. And, of course, being a part of the Liberty Beacon Project, we're always proud of everything you do. We really are.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm happy to continue raising money for Smile Medical Team. If somebody comes along and wants to donate, I'll make sure that they get it. I mean, I'm willing to do that. And I also wanted to mention, that what we do, it does save lives. I've seen it. It really does, and it's that is the most rewarding thing on earth, and it does affect our public opinion. Does affect governments. They can't get away with their crimes against humanity if we're watching. They're good,
yes.
And the direct result of it was hashtag Save al-Ahmar. That's the hashtag Jonas Arar has been using, and that's what we did the Twitter storm under. The result was 3 days after that Twitter storm, the ICC released a statement warning Israel that if they demolished the village, it would be a war crime and they would be prosecuted. So they held an emergency cabinet meeting. The Netanyahu mafia, I call them, had an emergency cabinet meeting, and they were advised by their lawyers to back off from al-Ahmar, or they would be prosecuted. So, they said that they were going to back off for now. So they may try something again in the future, But as long as we're watching them and our voices are loud enough, they can't get away with what they're doing. The second campaign, or right before, also recently, before even the second campaign, which was hashtag Balfour 101, that was led by the Palestinian people. But we rose to the occasion. They gave us like less than 24-hour notice, okay? And they were like, "Can you please help, participate with this storm?" And I was like, "Okay." And I would only do that for the Palestinian people. And it was a group in Gaza. So, they're in a crisis there, so I understand.
Yeah.
But we had just last week, the Irish government called for a full arms embargo on Israel and called for sanctions. So, there is positive result in these actions.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, let's take a look at the United Nations. All right, whether you like Trump or not, you must realize that Trump basically bows down in front of the AIPAC, the Jewish lobby. I mean, the amount of power that the Jewish lobby exercises in this country is second to none when it comes to any political organization on the planet. The amount of influence they have over the U.S. government is absolutely amazing and actually scary. So, hey, look, we've got to wrap this up. So do me a favor. Give a quick wrap up on both of these projects, whether it's the funding mechanism or the, hey, guess what, activism does work. And we'll make sure that when people are coming to this show, they will see the article and the information and the links.
Okay. Well, I'll just, close by saying that the Palestinian people, they have proven to the international community through the Great Return March protests that the only way that they can pay for their freedom is by their own blood. And, it's up to us to stand with them and to realize this and to say enough is enough, because we do have the power to shut them down. We can make governments back off. So Occupy Palestine TV, we are serving humanity. We are saving lives. We're fighting censorship. We're not only exposing these injustices, which impacts everyone, but we're fighting the censorship. At the beginning of this year, there have been 900 independent media pages removed by Facebook. I mean, people, things like Free Thought Project, Policing the Police, and stuff like that. They are trying like hell, and that was all for Israel, because Israel asked Facebook to do these things. Yep. And they're hell-bent on censoring us, but we still found a way around the censorship. Yep. So it's a powerful testimony, and I cannot live here on this planet and not do something for the Palestinian people. So
I know that.
Continue. Yeah.
I know that. How long have I known you? Going on 5 years now? Yes, I know that. All right, look, I promise you it won't be so long before we have you back again. As a matter of fact, maybe next month after we've wrung all of this out and we see what kind of help has been, afforded to this organization in Gaza via these funding mechanisms, and we can talk about it. And then we can talk about what happens next and what we can do next. Okay?
Okay. And I have to say one more thing.
Sure.
The Ireland, the Irish government calling for an arms embargo and sanctions on Israel. This is unprecedented. It's amazing. And I don't think it was completely because of our Twitter storm. I can't take all the credit. I think that Israel could take a lot of that credit because they assassinated 3 children on Sunday. Last Sunday, and this was something that they were aged 12 to 14, and they were just killed by a drone strike. Then they abducted the bodies. Then they dropped the bodies off. I mean, just horrific. Okay.
Yep.
And I think that is something that absolutely shook the international community, and they were like, okay, it's time we act. This needs to stop. And so I think that Israel really contributed to that, to getting
Yep.
negative.
They're shooting themselves in the foot. But as I started to say, there are a lot of countries in the United Nations that are not sympathetic to Israel. If it wasn't for a couple really, really big and powerful nations which have veto power in the UN, United States, things might not be the way they are. But we do have to wrap it up. I do have to jump on another show here in less than 5 minutes, and I've enjoyed this. Again, thank you so much, my friend. We have to do this again soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, and thanks everybody for supporting. Whatever you can do to support it, it makes a difference, and
Yes,
it's going for a really good cause.
Agreed and agreed. And for everybody listening, this has been Eradicating Programmed Ignorance, brought to you by the Liberty Beacon Project and broadcast on TLBTV. Stay safe, please, and thank you for supporting the Liberty Beacon Project.